really a big treat are Arizona drag racing legends, Shirley and Jesse Freeman. Uh, they're a team. They've known each other for how many years now?
65. Well, we've been married 65. I knew her for 2 or 3 months before that.
2 or 3 years, fool.
Oh, she wasn't that desperate, Jesse. Come on, she made you wait a little while. Or were you too shy to ask?
Well, actually, my dad bought a house in Glendale, and the house was next door to her.
Ah, you had a house with.
Go out one window and then the next window.
Yeah, so was it were it high windows or low windows? Did you have to jump a little bit?
Not bad.
Okay. Jesse is known with him and his brothers, the Freeman brothers. A lot of great racing over the years. It was Tom Shambaugh, the Freeman brothers, the Watleys, Larry Spitali, Joe Rundle, a lot of heavy hitters back in the days, and they were fierce competitors. They made racing fun. They took it very serious, and and Jesse's been lifelong racer and a general car guy, and Shirley was there with him, supporting him, but she was also worked for Beeline Dragway. And did you ever work at all at Firebird or just Beeline?
No, I just worked at Beeline.
Okay.
I quit when they went to Firebird.
And
Okay.
Speed World.
Yeah.
It was time for you to say,
Yeah.
I'm done. But you worked
yeah.
you worked on the tower.
Loved it. Yeah.
Yeah, and you saw a lot of good racing,
Yeah.
and you probably lectured the guys when when the race is over and how they lost and they could have done better. And
No.
you never did that? No.
No, he was actually, I think, for I don't know, 5 or 6 years, he was the one to beat.
Well, he's definitely the good-looking one of them all.
Yeah, I think so.
Jesse, how did you get? You and your brothers. We knew him Joe, but Larry Joe, and Connie, and you were all into racing. How did you get? First of all, where were you born?
Littlefield, Texas. God bless Texas.
Don't mess with Texas.
That's right.
Okay. you can take the boy to Texas, but you can't take Texas out of the boy, right? So how did you arrive in? How did you come upon Arizona?
Well, my older sister got married, and they moved to California. And my dad was a cotton farmer in Texas. He sold the farms, and we went out and seen them that summer. And then we went back to Texas in the fall. Next summer, we went back to California, and we were somewhere between Phoenix and New Mexico, or maybe we'd got in New Mexico, and we was going to Truth or Consequences. Well, my mother said, the only reason you want to go to Truth or Consequences, you're going to end up back in Texas. He turned the car around, and when we stopped, we was in Glendale. That's where we stayed.
That's where you ended up.
Mm-hmm.
How old were you then?
9 or 10.
9 or 10. So you ended up going to school and finishing school in Glendale. And
I started Glendale School when I was in the 4th grade.
you taught them a thing or two, I bet. Yeah. So you got here. When did your interest in cars begin?
What was that?
When did your interest in cars begin?
I guess when I was about this big.
How did that happen?
I don't know, just I wanted to take everything apart to see how it worked.
Did you put it back together?
Sometimes I couldn't do that.
I asked because I was known for that. I knew how everything worked. I just never put it back together.
I took one of the wheels off the cotton trailer back on the farm, and I couldn't get it back on. And Connie ended up and put it back on for me.
Now, Connie was the oldest,
Mm-hmm.
and who was next?
I have 2 sisters older
Okay.
than me. One of them is still alive, and she's 95. And then Connie was 3rd in line, and I was 4th, and have another sister that's died, and she was 5th, and Joe was 6th. He was the last one.
Yeah, so you had a big family.
6, yeah.
Yeah, that's kept you. Was it big family? Was it easy to hide in the big family? So you kind of somebody else was always getting in trouble. Somebody else get in trouble to take the pressure off of you from time to
Not
time?
that I know of.
Oh, yeah. Your parents kept good track of you. Yeah. So, what was your first car?
A 52 Oldsmobile.
Tell us about it.
It was 98, had a V8 engine in it, and they run pretty decent back then. And I paid $800 for it. And
Which is good money back then.
It was. Mm-hmm.
When, how old were you when you remember?
16.
So this was your first teenage driver's license car.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know
That's
him
true.
then? Did you know about this car? When did
No.
you meet him?
I met him in about 57.
Okay.
Yeah. We both graduated from Glendale High, and
More Glendale people.
I'm
Oh
telling
my.
you, yeah.
That's really cool. So did you get to ride in that? Did you remember that car at all? Or?
Not at all.
She never seen that car.
No, that was before my time.
Oh.
He was only, like you said, 16 then.
So you moved on to another
Well,
ride.
that car, they didn't have power steering on it back then, and I took the power steering off of a 54 and put it on that car, and I kept it till I was 56, and then I started working at Masters Radio and TV when I was 14, and I was doing all the car radios, house radios, and phonographs. Well, Don Sanderson, he'd come over a lot, and back then, the Thunderbird, they kept coming out with one with more horsepower. Well, Don would come over and come in the shop, hey, let's go, when he'd get one that had more power. So that's where I met him, and they had this Buick. It was a year old, and I didn't buy it when I looked at it, and I went down the next day and they'd sold it. And Don said, do you really want that car? And I said, yeah. And he said, the loan might not go through. And he called me over to the shop the next day and said, come get the car.
Wow.
And that was my second car.
So this is Don Sanderson Ford. So
Mm-hmm. It was a Buick Century. And that was, the Century had the big motor in it and the little body. Sucker ran back then.
it was a road machine.
Mm-hmm.
The great thing about Glendale, back in those days, Glendale was actually separate from Phoenix. You know, it was its own community.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of great people, a lot of just up and up people that, you know, came and grew up in Glendale. And the Sanderson family's definitely, their history, what they've done for, you know, the city of Glendale, you know, it's just fantastic. And so you got yourself a Buick, and you were the king of the road. Did you do any street racing?
Not much.
Okay. When did
A
you
little
decide?
bit.
When did you go drag racing?
About 69.
And
I had a Pontiac Ventura, tri-power on it. It ran, I think, best 1402. In fact, that was the first time I ever run it Beeline. And for class, I had to run Don Gay.
wow.
And the car ran a 1402 then, but he ran a 1398, and he beat me.
Well, I'm sure his experience, that was quite a run for him, because I mean his experience was like being a racer was the way he probably been doing it much longer than you had.
Yeah.
That's great. So a Ventura, which is in '69, so that was like on the Nova like the Nova.
It was the smallest body they
Yeah,
had
yeah.
and the biggest motor.
Yeah, yeah. I've seen something here. Small bodies, big motors. That no replacement for displacement.
That's right. You know, Don Sanderson, there was one other thing that I thought was kind of funny afterwards. He had one of his T-Birds, and he had been to San Francisco, and he come back, and they took the radio out of the car and sent over to the shop. Said the volume would drop on it, and you couldn't hear it. And it played beautiful. Sent it back to him, and he sent the car over and left it and told me to drive it. So I drove it, the radio played beautiful. And sent it back, he come over with the car and he said, "How fast you drive it?" And I said, "About 60." He said, "Let's go for a ride." We went out on 83rd Avenue. That speedometer went to 160, and that's where it was at. And at that speed, the volume on the radio dropped.
It was one of those automatic volume, early technology.
Yeah.
But he didn't know that, and he was selling the cars.
So I told him, "I know what it is, so we can go back." But he had it wide open, and it was pegged at 160.
It had your full attention.
Mm-hmm. Telephone poles look like a picket fence.
Yeah. It's a song that says that, right? Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. Oh boy, that on 83rd Avenue, which is nothing like 83rd Avenue is now. It was
No.
2-lane road.
It wasn't just farmhouses
Yeah,
out there.
irrigation ditches on the side.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
one keep between the ditches.
Cottonwood trees lining the irrigation
Oh,
ditches.
yeah, those would make great tough guardrails.
Yeah.
You didn't want to hit one of those things. That was terrible. So you went out and you had the in '69, and then where was that? Was it Beeline?
It was at Beeline, and it was I had a '62 Pontiac Ventura.
In the '62. Okay. Okay. Yeah. What did you? So I know for a long time you worked for Pete King Construction. How long were you there?
25 or 6 years.
And that enabled you to go racing and still.
Well, she worked too.
Oh. Oh. So yeah.
When she quit working, I had to quit racing.
Well, that's not fair. Yeah. I don't think you ever quit. I still don't think you've quit. I just think you're just not doing it right now. In my mind, there's Freeman brothers will always, one of them's always going to be racing. So you got, when did you really get serious about drag racing, you and your brothers?
I guess '69. I built a '64 Chevy 2
Okay.
and ran that till July of '72. That thing was a death trap. Well, all they'd let you do at the time was put a roll bar in it, and the body would flex. And when you shut off at the finish line, you really wasn't sure which way it was going to go.
This was wrapped up and twisted.
Mhm.
Oh my goodness.
But years after that, I built a '67 Nova, and you put a cage in it and tie the frames together and a bunch of other stuff, and I did that to it. And it was just like it was on a string.
Is that the car in your t-shirt?
Mm-hmm. Well, this was, that '67 was after the '68 Camaro.
Okay, I'm trying to put them on. There's so many great cars that, you know.
The '64 Nova, after that was the Camaro.
Okay.
And the first time I ran the Camaro was on 4th of July weekend, and they had raced 2 days, and if you won both days, they doubled the purse. I won both days with that car, and that's the first time that car had been out. And of course, our buddy Rick Lynch, you know,
I was waiting for this.
he said, "Where'd you come up with that? I'm going to pay double." Well, Joe Rundle was there, and he had the flyer. He took it out here. Lynch said, "Where'd you get that?"
He wasn't expecting anybody to double down.
No.
Yeah, another, you know, God bless him. I mean, Rick Lynch had the reputation in a lot of people to be a lot of things. But
Well, you know,
he still created, he had a place for us to race.
we went to Spokane, Washington, and that funny car that was here in town,
Larry Christopherson?
Larry Christopherson, yeah. He hauled the tree from Beeline and some of the equipment from Beeline for backup for Spokane. Well, they got in some kind of argument up there, and Lynch come over and wanted to know if I'd take the stuff back. I said, "Okay, yeah." And he said, "Well, I'll tell you what, you take it back and I'll let you in free for a year." And that's when they was running almost every weekend. Got back, took stuff out to him, first race. I went up there and they wanted to charge me, and I said, "Rick said I'd get in free for a year." And they get a hold of Rick Lynch, and he said, "Where'd you get that idea at?" I said, "Rick, if I'd known you was going to do this, I'd have thrown the stuff in the Colorado River when I crossed it." And he said, well, don't be that way. So I got in for a year then.
You just had a short memory. You had to remind him of things and could then convince him that he really said it.
Was that the problem, short memory?
Yeah. Well, I've been trying to be nice. Tried to defend himself. But,
Yeah. Other than that, Lance was okay. I liked him.
Well, he was, it's funny, people like Ricky, big persona, big personality. And that was part of the fun of being around him. Because you knew the things he would do and some of the things he pulled, but he had the guts to keep doing it. And, we had a drag strip.
Yeah.
And overall, I mean, Beeline back in the day was a pretty good place to race.
It was.
And there was a lot of racing, and unfortunately the politics and everything set in, and the place had to close. But I sure had a lot of fun out there. I know you guys were out there a lot. Where else have you raced?
What other cars?
Where else? What other drag
Where
strips?
else? Sacramento, Sonoma. Well, Fremont to start with. And then they ended up in Sonoma years after. And Orange County, Bakersfield.
So Fremont, your first time you went there, were you excited because you had all this extra air and the car ran really, really good? And you go, where did that come from?
Geez, yeah.
Yeah, had to figure things out again. Yeah, we took the comp car there the first time, and it ran like 2/10 quicker just right off the bat. Well, then even tuning it went quicker, so we had to figure some things out.
Yeah, mine was 2/10 or so quicker, maybe a little more than that. I don't remember exactly.
So
And then we went to Texas, Fort Worth, and Tulsa 2 or 3 times.
had a good time with it.
Mm-hmm.
So you ran super gas for a while,
No,
and then you ran.
when Beeline was AHRA,
Okay.
I run that modified production.
That's
whatever
right.
It was. And Joe, he started running super gas when they came out with it.
Okay. And the over the years, you had a lot of cars that were similar, and cars that were different. And he eventually went off to the Roadster, but you kept F-bodying it with the Camaro type cars.
Yeah,
And you went running super stock.
yeah, yeah. When NHRA took over, I started running super stock. Well, originally modified production, but that didn't last long. They did away with it.
Right.
And the car, they made a class in super stock that the car fit in.
If you're ever on Facebook, I'm sure you've seen Mike Cook's post pictures he posts.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Cook has a lot of modified production pictures and a lot of great memories, and and I'm just a big fan of what he lived here for such a short while, but a lot of people got to know him. But he's been a big supporter. He loved modified production. He definitely is a champion of that
Yeah.
class. So they some cars went to super stock, some went to comp eliminator.
Yeah.
And so what did you do? I mean, how well did you do in the super stock deal? Did you have a good time?
Oh, it's pretty good. I won super stock at Orange County one year. Car always ran good, more consistent at Orange County for some reason. Both lanes would, was real consistent.
So you enjoyed going there.
And a lot of the tracks, one lane is better than the other. It seems like the best one is always the right lane, and the worst one's the left lane.
It makes sense. That makes sense. There's always an edge, but by running it often enough, you know where and it could be the way your car's set up and the way you're sitting in the car. That
Yeah.
one lane's better than another. It's just, but for good tracks like that, they're really usually pretty close in performance on the lanes. So Shirley, you left when Beeline closed. You were no longer had to sit in a tower. Did you go to many of the races with them after that?
Whenever the car left, I went with it.
Good. So
Well, most of the time, not all the time.
Yeah, most of the time.
Most
they
of
went.
the time. Yeah.
somebody had to keep him in line.
Yeah.
Was he out of control very often, or did you
Oh,
keep
he's
him in line?
always been a saint.
Oh,
See
should
the
be sure
halo?
your halo's slipping. It sounded like a lot of great times, and you raised a family. Tell us about your family.
We got two girls. The oldest one's Shauna, and Shauna worked in the tower a bit. And the youngest one is Peggy Sue. And then we have four grandchildren. Both of the girls had first a boy and then a girl. And now we've got, what, 7 great-grandchildren?
Something like that.
So you find that the grandkids and the great-grandkids have kept you busy. I know that I see, Jesse, that you've become a soccer parent, grandparent, great-grandparent. I know, so you give transportation to events from time to time, and
We don't miss a game.
So where do you sit? Do you sit with the other parents, or do you sit by yourselves?
We sit with the other parents.
Good. They made me sit by myself when my daughters played softball.
Really?
Yeah, I wasn't allowed to say what was on my mind, obviously. So, usually there's 1 or 2 other dads that were sitting by me, and we knew we were going to say something that the other people didn't like, but we were okay with it. So,
Sometimes I do get in trouble for my mouth.
Well, my wife Kathy, she's the one that said, "Why don't you go sit in the right field?" So, where's Chris? He's out there. Well, hi. But that's a lot of fun.
Oh, it is.
So a whole lot of
That's
fun.
what our whole life growing up, the girls, it was all about racing and nothing else, just racing. And 7 days a week, because he'd be working on the car during the week or whatever, And then now it's all about soccer.
It's family.
We don't have time for friends or anything. It's all about soccer.
It's all family. That's really great. Over the years, you've met a lot of great people, and you've made a lot of good friends. Larry was a great guy. You miss him terribly.
Yeah.
I remember Connie's TV shop when I worked for Bill Knobloch a couple doors down, and that was a ongoing. That was a big business back in the day. Is that why he quit racing, because of the TV repair business, or did he? Connie kind of.
He was a little on the tight side, and he decided that was just too much money to spend.
Well, okay, yeah. Drag racing, making millionaires out of billionaires every day. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I can kind of understand that. What are your future? Just more soccer games, and what you want to do, and say after that, or you have
I
plans
guess
to?
just get by till we die.
Well,
I'm 85 now.
yeah, but Jesse, nobody gets out alive, so yeah, you're doing well. You look really good. Shirley, you look awesome.
Well, we go to the gym 5 days a week.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Good for you. My wife, if she doesn't go to the gym every day, she's like disappointed. Out in Peoria, they have a Peoria Rec Center. She got away from the brand name gyms and started going to that and just having a great time. And she comes home and threatens me and flexes her muscles, and I go, maybe I probably should start doing that myself. That's a good inspiration.
Yeah.
What do you miss most about drag racing?
I don't know. I guess the excitement and anticipation of winning.
And all your friends.
Yeah, and
He misses
kind of
his
friends.
buddies.
Well, you definitely had a lot of friends. You still have a lot of friends. Unfortunately, some of them are waiting for us somewhere else, but you still, over the years,
Yeah,
there
was a lot of friends.
a lot of great memories, and I wanted to let you know that the Freeman name's always been, you and your brothers has always been a top shelf deal for me, and I've been very honored for me to be able to interview you two today. Shirley, you're awesome.
Thank
And
you.
thanks for keeping an eye on the big boy here. He's we know he can get out of control if you weren't around. Yeah. I can't picture him really out of control, but thought I had to say it. I got a laugh out of you
Yeah.
anyways. Shirley, Jesse.
At Beeline, Pat Hale was working in the tower, and I don't remember exactly what happened, but I thought they screwed the dial up. And I was in the tower arguing with him. He was on the 3rd floor, and he kept on and on and on, and I said, "Pat, one more word out of you and I'm going to throw you out the window." And I don't know what it was, 4 or 5 years ago, I seen Pat. He said, "Would you have really thrown me out the window?" I said, "Pat, I don't know." But I wouldn't have.
Oh, now it's gonna be, now he's gonna hear it. You wouldn't have.
I wouldn't have.
Well, but you definitely did. He get big eyes, like.
Yeah,
Yeah. Sometimes you have to say things that
great
catch their
guy,
attention.
he was.
Yeah, yeah. Well, he's still involved with racing and
Mhm.
with his electronics and all that. He's a very smart man.
Yes, he is.
Well, it's been great having you here today. You really are truly Arizona drag racing legends, and we appreciate you being here and joining us today.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm glad we're here.